What if I told you that the President of the United States has apologized to a terrorist organization? Doesn't sound real. Sounds like a joke, sounds like a sick joke, don't it? Friends, I've got shocking news for you today. Joe Biden, the current President of the United States, has just apologized to Hamas, a terrorist organization, an organization who just recently attacked the peaceful, loving state of Israel. These folks are terrorists, and our president has apologized to them. Imagine that. A president of the United States apologizing to a terrorist organization. Just when you think it can't get any more wacky, this administration doubles up on itself. It just gets crazier and crazier. It's like Alice in Crazyland. The further we go down this road with Joe Biden and his administration, the nuttier everything seems. What is going on? Hello, J.R. Dukes here. Appreciate you joining me today. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, all the above. And remember, when you hit the subscribe button, it does bring you 10 years of good luck. If you don't believe me, hit that subscribe button and see. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Joining me now is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, a member of the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Senator, I got to get this straight here. This is mind-boggling. The president is apologizing to Hamas now?
Yeah, Maria, it's outrageous, but let's face it, he's not in full command of his faculties. We have a diminished president.
To say we have a diminished president is putting it mildly. Look at how shocked this reporter is. Look at her face. Now, she's always slightly animated, but I got to tell you, this is shocking in every way you can possibly be shocked. This tops the cake. This is probably going to be one of the top 10 screw-ups by Joe Biden that's going to be on my personal list. I cannot believe this.
A moment when the world's in flames. It's one of the reasons our adversaries are on the move. They're being so aggressive. America is weak. It's been weakened by President Biden's policies, and then they take a look at President Biden's just ability to do the job, and it emboldens them even further.
Yeah. Senator, look, we all know what America has seen in the last 2.5 years and how most people's lives are much worse under President Biden. But
folks, take a second and let me know in the comments, is your life better 3 years ago than what it is today? How are you doing economically? How's your family doing? How are you dealing with the increased inflation and increased prices and all of the changes that have happened in the last 3 years? Are you doing better? Are you doing worse? I would really like you to take a moment and have a conversation with me and let me know. Just put in the comments below.
Look, the public wants more than just, reminding us of how bad things are. You're an elected official. What can you do about it?
I understand. Well, right now, I think we have an opportunity to take care of the clear and present danger of our open border.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we have a president who wants an open border, but the president also wants funding for Ukraine.
They're going to go through a laundry list of problems with this administration, and then they're going to drill more into exactly what President Joe Biden said to Hamas in his apology. It is definitely the case that with open borders, specifically the Texas-Mexican border, or any open border, but specifically there, we are letting in an unknown total plethora of individuals that we don't have any documentation on, and they're likely going to have some terrorists mixed up in there. We have documented cases of terrorists that have entered the United States, and we don't know where they're at.
Ukraine. I know a lot of my Republican colleagues do as well. I'm certainly sympathetic with the Ukrainian people. But what comes first is our own national and homeland security. And what we should do as Republicans is insist that any funding for Ukraine is contingent on actually securing the border.
They have a funding fight about to start in the House of Representatives. As you know, Mike Johnson just recently took over as Speaker of the House of Representatives. There is a very, very slim 4-vote majority that the Republicans have, which allows them to have power in the House. And they also have that vote going on later today to see about kicking that one representative from New York out. We'll see how that plays, but if he goes, then that's another vote lost for the Republicans. Then there's only 3-seat majority that they have to deal with, and they got this funding fight that they're going to have to enter, and obviously they're going to try to tie Ukraine and Israel funding to securing the border, which personally I think is a great idea. Let me know what you think in the comments.
So I know Republican senators are negotiating with Democrats. Democrats don't seem to be negotiating in good faith. But if we reach any agreement in terms of changing the asylum laws, which we must do, under this president, it'll make no difference. So what we need to do is insist on benchmarks that must be met. And again, the funding needs to be contingent on those benchmarks being met. And by the way, President Trump was able to secure the border in a period of about 12 months, from his peak to his trough. Once he got returned to Mexico in place, got other agreements with other countries.
Don't you wish we could return to those good old days with Donald Trump? It is absolutely the case that within a short time of him taking office, he got the border, the southern border, taken care of immediately. He told Mexico that you are going to keep the people on your side of the border when they come and they apply for entry into our country, and they can wait in line and have a fair due process hearing. It immediately stopped the illegal immigration, or at least put it down to a trickle. Folks, without a border, we don't have a country. And let's just call it what it is. The Democrats want open borders because they figure and they know at some point, just like under the Reagan administration, they're going to have to go ahead and have some kind of amnesty program for all of the Hispanics and all the minorities that are coming in. And the Democrats think in their mind that because they're minorities, because they're Hispanic, that they are going to vote Democrat. So it's kind of like they're planning on the future, a way to take power, always, to have that power.
Again, no help from Congress, no help from Democrats. He did that based on his own willpower. Republicans actually want to do this president a favor and help him secure the border if he's willing to do so.
Yeah. I want to get to the security supplemental package in a second, because I want to get your take on the money for Ukraine that he wants versus the money for Israel. But let me stay on the border for a minute, because Border Patrol seized nearly 200 pounds of meth and close to 120 pounds of fentanyl on Thanksgiving Day. On Thanksgiving Day, these seizures happened, Senator. The Department of Homeland Security reportedly focused on making Border Patrol agents use preferred pronouns of illegal migrants and to not assume any genders. Okay, so while they're seizing all of this, there's a memo obtained by the Heritage Foundation. It shows agents cannot use he, him, she.
All right, I want to make sure you're grasping this. They have issued a memo, the DHS memo, as you can see on your screen, orders patrol agents to use preferred pronouns for migrants. So there is such a problem at the border just trying to keep people out of the country from entering illegally. They are having issues with personnel, with manpower, safety issues, all kinds of problems they're having on the border because of President Joe Biden and his administration. And now they're making the agent's job even harder because their primary focus now is, as it says on your screen, you have to make sure you don't use he, him, she, her, unless they tell you otherwise what their pronoun is. This is crazy. This is unbelievable. We have a mess at our border. We don't have any kind of border security to speak of, and the Biden administration's concern is using the proper pronouns. Do you feel like you're living in like the Twilight Zone? I feel like Rod Sterling's going to step out and say, get ready to enter a world where nothing makes any sense, where you have a president that can't function, that has to be in bed at a certain time, and we have a country that has open borders, but you need to make sure you use the proper pronouns for the people that are coming into your country illegally. Give me a break.
Her. No. You can't use any of that until they are certain that the migrant goes by one of those pronouns, Senator. Are you kidding me? This is what Alejandro Mayorkas is focused on.
This is what Democrats are focused on. Again, our open border is a clear and present danger to America. I've always assumed that the president's first responsibility is to protect Americans, to address clear and present dangers. In fact, what this administration has done, they have created the clear and present danger. Their priorities are climate change. Their priorities are transgenderism. Their priorities are all these radical leftist causes, and then they completely are destroying this country. $1 you helped start the Biden administration is worth 85 cents because of massive deficit spending. gasoline is higher because of their war on fossil fuel and their climate change policies, which are a fantasy. Again, elections matter. Radical leftism only destroys. It does nothing to build things. But unfortunately, too many Americans listen to the mainstream media who are supportive of President Biden's policies. And we are in a very dangerous moment in this country's history.
But I mean, what's the motivation, Senator? I don't understand why. Are they just against America? I don't get this.
Yeah, Maria, I can't.
I get it. I will go ahead and cut through the fog real quick for you. It's what I just said a minute ago. They have open borders because they are planning on in the future that all of the people coming across the border will at some point become citizens because they're going to have to offer some kind of amnesty program. You cannot physically and feasibly deport 100 million individuals. It just simply cannot be done. We can say it can be done, but it can't be done. So they're thinking in the future, hey, we'll bring all these people in, and we're willing to bet that all these Hispanic people will vote Democratic in the future, because that's generally the history with minority groups voting more for the Democrats than they do the Republicans. However, I will tell you, I have a lot of Hispanic friends. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend is Venezuelan. And they are very, very afraid of socialism. They know what socialism has done to their country. They know the attractiveness on paper of socialism, but they know it is a terrible, terrible, and evil thing.
I can't explain people who want to push socialism, communism. I mean, it happens. It's happened for decades, for centuries. Again, it's that siren song of taking from the rich and giving to the poor. It just doesn't work. I remind people that Venezuelans voted themselves into poverty in the course of a couple of decades when they voted for Hugo Chavez.
Unbelievable.
This is exactly what I just said. I watched this video earlier, forgot about that part, but that's exactly what I was just talking about. My girlfriend is Venezuelan, and I can assure you, her friends, her family, they don't want nothing to do with socialism. These people voted in socialism, and it destroyed the great country of Venezuela. It used to be the wealthiest country in Latin America, oil reserves out the you-know-what, tons of wealth, tons of opportunity for their people, and then it was all gone, all erased because of socialism. And that is a true, clear and present danger that we face even here in America.
We've been voting for socialism here in America. We need to stop. We need to embrace what makes this country great.
So we're talking this morning that Washington, D.C. has reported that it has had 900 carjackings this year. And the 900th carjacking happened on Thanksgiving. The total for the year is now 905. 158 arrests were made, okay? So 905 carjackings, only 158 arrests. The majority of those involved minors. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser is taking a trip to Dubai this week to discuss climate change. And that climate change conference begins in Dubai and runs until December 12th. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, writes this on X. Washington, D.C.'s 900th 2023 carjacking on Thanksgiving Day should force Congress to take over policing the nation's capital. Washington belongs to the country.
That's probably not a bad idea. The crime is unbelievable everywhere, especially D.C.
Senator, what about that? And all the while, what are we talking about? We're talking about Biden wanting more money from the Congress. He wants $106 billion security supplemental outside of the $20 billion in aid that's earmarked for Israel and Gaza. The bulk of it is to Ukraine. $60 billion is what the White House wants to send to Ukraine now. U.S.-Mexico border, they're talking about $10 billion in additional money. Okay, I don't even know why we're sending any money to the border, Senator, because I thought it was policies that need to be changed, not more money. Because if you send more money to the border, what are they going to do? They're just going to build more houses and more housing for the illegals. No?
Exactly. They're going to use that money to expedite the encountering, processing, and release of illegal immigrants into this country. That's what they use the funding for. But Maria, you've heard me say it before. If you were asked to develop a strategy to destroy this country, you could not come up with a better game plan than what the Biden administration is implementing. These are the very predictable results of defund police movement, of attacking the police rather than locking up criminals. Again, radical leftism, their priorities are completely screwed up.
There's documents out there called the Communist Manifesto and other related type documents. They're somewhat controversial, obviously, but they talk about this type of thing. If you want to take a country from capitalism to socialism and then to communism, what they're doing now in the Democratic Party is exactly the way to do it. You go after the police. You defund the police. You go ahead and sow seeds in the minds of your populace saying, hey, things are not equitable, things are not right. We need to go ahead and take the money that everybody makes and have a better life for everybody. It sounds good potentially on paper, but it does not work in real life. Don't drink that Kool-Aid, folks. Please don't.
It's an upside down world. Again, they're concerned about climate change. They're concerned about transgenderism. They're concerned about letting criminals run free instead of actually cracking down on crime. So we end up with this dystopian future in today. In our today's present, these.
Folks, we have a world where the current administration, our current political leadership, is more concerned about fentanyl, what your pronouns are, how many letters, LGBTQ, whatever, making sure everybody's treated equitably, making sure that the green climate BS is taken care of, switching us from gasoline to batteries, which is not going to work out, at least not with our current technology. This is their vision of America, their vision of the world, and it is scary. It is so wrong. This is their priorities instead of protecting our nation, building our nation, securing our borders, taking care of our own people, being a strong leader and helping folks around the world appropriately, but not like we're doing now. We have no respect in the world now. We have to get it back now.
Particularly large cities like Washington, D.C. Again, predictable results. I don't know why Americans continue to support this, but unfortunately they do.
So what are your priorities now?
I know why they continue to support it. Indoctrination. They're taught this crap in school, and then it's on their minds, and they teach it to their children as they're growing older. Our colleges are full of these professors that believe this liberal junk, and they pass this on and indoctrinate their students, and this is the predictable result that we get.
When you get back at it, the House is going to be back at full occupancy with the final vacancy being filled in Utah's 2nd congressional district. Republican Celeste Malloy won that special election. But we'll see what happens with Representative George Santos. They've got a 4-seat majority in the House, but that could shrink.
Okay, take a look at this next video, which is Joe Biden himself making remarks concerning Hamas. And you're going to see exactly how he apologized to this terrorist group. Here we go.
I have no notion that the Palestinians are telling the truth about how many people are killed. I'm sure innocents have been killed, and it's the price of waging a war. But I have no confidence in the number that the Palestinians are using.
President Joe Biden privately apologized to Muslim leaders for expressing doubt about the number of people the Gaza Health Ministry said had been killed in the war between Israel and Hamas. The president reportedly said he is disappointed in himself and, quote, "I will do better." The Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas, has a long history of inflating death tolls. Hamas fighters also routinely embed themselves in civilian and humanitarian areas, such as the Shifa Hospital, to create human shields, and then try to condemn Israel for killing civilians in its attempts to wipe out the terrorist organization. Dozens of Biden administration staffers have reportedly expressed concern in private over Biden's stance on Israel's war with Hamas and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Biden has long been a devoted supporter of Israel and came out with a forceful response to the October 7th Hamas terrorist attacks. This was applauded by some as a show of strength, while it worried some in the Democratic Party and within his own administration.
All right, there you have it. You have our own president. His initial remarks were appropriate. He came out and said what the facts are, that Hamas cannot be trusted under any circumstances, and their numbers saying how many people were killed, you can't trust that either. It's complete fiction, complete made-up numbers that they are potentially giving the world in order to draw sympathy and to install outrage against Israel for the war that Hamas caused with the backing of Iran. It's just that simple. So you had the president come out and he clearly told everybody that basically you cannot trust Hamas. Published reports say that President Biden reportedly issued an apology to several Muslim American leaders after openly questioning the accuracy of the death totals from Gaza. And he said that he was disappointed in himself and that he would try to do better. How weak, how sick is this? Who's the brainchild that told him to do that? Absolutely insane what's going on. Folks, we have to have Donald Trump elected back to office. I can only do my part by making the videos. It's my mission, it's my goal to show everyone exactly what's going on and to help you walk through it, to think, to see things clearly, because there's so much misinformation out there. There's so much indoctrination that's going on in our country, and it's time for it to stop. I really want you to share this video. It helps spread the message. It helps people to think for themselves. It helps everybody be able to see the world clearly, to have what I've always referred to as that free mind. But you have to do your part and help me. When you share, the algorithm through YouTube will distribute this better. These type videos, when it's a conservative, I don't really like that label, but when it's a conservative type voice, generally speaking, it's suppressed on all the platforms, and YouTube is probably no different. I can only tell you that this has to change. You need to do your part. Make sure you get out and vote. Tell your neighbors, like, share, subscribe. Do what you can and make a difference. It's really just that simple. As I come to a conclusion here, folks, I want to remind you to always have that free mind and never give up. And until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.